if your tax return makes your income look lower than it is in reality, you're exactly the kind of buyer who gets misunderstood by lenders every single day. And that's exactly why so many self-employed people like yourself get bad advice. You get told, come back in 2 years, start writing everything off, you need 20% down, and sometimes you might just get told you don't qualify with no explanation at all. I would be willing to bet that you have been told everything except the truth. The real reason you have not got the approval you're looking for is because you're trying to solve your lane B problem with the lane A strategy, and that never works. What you are currently trying to do is charge an iPhone with an Android charger. For the newer generation, you might not get that reference because I think they all use USB Type-C now, but for us old heads, us OGs, we know the struggle of asking a friend for an iPhone charger and they pull out an Android charger instead. My name is Ushindi Mutabazi and I'm a mortgage associate here in Alberta, and I specialize in helping self-employed Albertans like yourself qualify for a mortgage without waiting 2 years for income averages, paying more in taxes, or changing the way that you run your business. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to qualify for mortgage in Alberta if you're self-employed and write off a lot. The first thing you need to understand is that lenders do not approve how hard you work. They approve what you can prove. You can be making great money in your business. You can have strong cash flow, but if your tax return makes your income look small, that's where the problems start. As a self-employed borrower, lenders are usually looking at your documents like your T1 General, Notice of Assessments, your T2 125, and sometimes even other business documents depending on your setup. And this is where a lot of you get frustrated. You're thinking, I know what I make. But the lender is thinking to themselves, if this is what the income looks like after tax, then how much can they actually use to pay off the mortgage? Before we get to talking strategy, the first and most important step is for you to know which lane you are currently in. Lane A is for the self-employed person whose tax return shows strong net income. Lane B is for someone like you, whose business may be doing very, very well, but after deductions, the usable income looks much lower than reality. You are the person this video is for. If I'm being completely honest, you are the person this whole channel is for. You are the type of person who I love to work with because I personally believe that you're playing the game the right way. And I'm such a big fan of being self-employed and figuring out ways to beat the system. That being said, if your accountant is doing an amazing job and minimizing your taxable income, that is great for your taxes. But it does create a mortgage problem because most lenders care more about what the paperwork says than what the real story actually is. If you have tried to qualify in the past and did not get the result you were looking for, the mistake is not that you wrote things off. The mistake is that you are trying to qualify like a lane A borrower when your situation should be handled with much more customization. I am here to tell you that you were never the problem. The problem is that you are playing to your weaknesses instead of your strengths. The only thing is, you do need to be realistic with what your goals are when it comes to getting this mortgage. If you are in lane B, your goal should not be to find the cheapest mortgage because you most likely will not. Your goal is to get the right mortgage so you can buy the right property, build equity, strengthen your file, then in 2 to 3 years, qualify for a much better rate. Different lenders have different self-employed programs. Some may rely more heavily on business bank statements. Some may want business financial. Some may just use a declared income form. If I was to sit here and tell you that a bank statement loan is the best option for you, then I would be lying. The truth is, I do not know. There is no one size fits all when it comes down to mortgages. You need to choose the option that matches your situation the best, and more importantly, your financial and home ownership goals in general. Instead of going to the bank and forcing yourself into a lane A approval process, use a lender or a program that actually understands self-employed income. Something to keep in mind is that your business and income story do still need to make sense. Your declared or stated income has to be reasonable for your industry, the type of business you're in, how long you've been operating, and the overall strength of your file. So if you are in lane B, the goal is not to hide the weaknesses. The goal is to present your situation the right way, in the right lane, for the right lender. This is how smart buyers separate themselves from emotional buyers. And if you need help telling your income story in the right way so you can maximize what you qualify for, send me a message on Instagram and I will be glad to help. The link is in the description for that. A very critical part of getting a mortgage if you're in lane B is realizing that the mortgage you're getting right now is not a forever mortgage. It needs to be treated as a bridge strategy. And I mention that because people who are looking to buy strictly based on this rate think, I might as well wait the 2 years, it's a safer and cheaper alternative. But waiting has a cost as well. You are still paying rent, you're not building equity, and the home prices are only going to increase. But you know what? Let's look at the actual math, because men lie, women lie, but the numbers won't. This video is sponsored by myself. If you're looking to buy a home in the next 6 months or just want some clarity on your current position and where you stand, click the first link in the description and complete my 3-minute mortgage readiness quiz. It's completely customized, and once you complete that quiz, I will personally record you a custom video within 24 hours, breaking down your real numbers, explaining exactly how a lender would view your file, and laying out a clear approval strategy based on your timeline and your goals. This is not automated, it's me doing the work. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at It's Ushindi for more self-employed mortgage advice, or if you have any questions and just want to chat, a link for that will be in the description as well. Let's get back to the video. Let's say the house you want today is $550,000. Let's say you're putting 20% down, so your mortgage is $440,000. If your Lane B mortgage rate today is 6.49%, and the cheaper rate you might qualify for in 2 years is at 4.99%, on a 25-year amortization, the payment at the 6.49% rate is about $2,945 per month. At the 4.99% rate, it's about $2,557 per month. With the bridge strategy, you would be paying about $388 more per month. So over 25 months, that's about $9,312 in extra payment costs to get your mortgage today. Option 2 is to wait 2 years. Let's assume that home that today is $550,000, it rises by about 3% per year. After 2 years, that same house would now cost $33,495 more. That means in this example, waiting actually costs you about $24,183 more than using the higher rate bridge strategy for the first 2 years. Not to mention, with the bridge strategy, after the 2 years, you would have paid down about $15,000 in principal, which becomes equity in the home, while the other person who waited is still sitting on the sidelines waiting to enter the game and still paying rent. But in all transparency, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I would be lying if I was to sit here and say there aren't any negatives in getting a mortgage if you are in Lane B. The biggest one is that you will require a much higher down payment. Sometimes 20% is needed, sometimes it isn't. But the more down payment you have, the less risky it is for the lenders and the more options you have available to you. Not always, but often. Another negative is that you will require much more documentation. With a self-employed file, the cleaner your paperwork is, the easier it is for the lender to understand your story and be comfortable with your income. If you are a sole proprietor, the main documents you usually need are T1 General, your Notice of Assessment, and your T2125. Make sure the T2125 is included because that's the document that shows your gross business income, your expenses, and your net income. That form is usually where the lender starts seeing why your real cash flow and your taxable income can look very different. I would suggest you also include your GST returns, business bank statements, or literally anything else that you can think of to prove that your business is active and stable. If you're incorporated, the lender may ask for an even bigger picture. They still care about your personal T1s and the Notice of Assessment, but they may also ask for things like your corporate financials, your T2 corporate tax returns, your article of incorporation, and on top of that, they may still require the business bank statements. The reason this matters is because on a self-employed file, especially a Lane B file, the lender is already doing so much more interpretation since the numbers aren't so black and white. They're already trying to make sense of the income story. So if your documents are messy, incomplete, or inconsistent, it makes the file much harder to defend on their end. And if the file is hard to defend, they may just resort to telling you you don't qualify. When your paperwork is clean, organized, and easy to understand, it gives the lender much more confidence. And when the lender has much more confidence, that means you have much more options. You now have all the information necessary to qualify for a mortgage if you're self-employed and write off a lot. You do not need to watch 5 more videos after this video. In fact, don't even watch 1 more video after this. You have all the information needed. It's now time to act. If you're looking to buy a house in the next 6 months, what you need to do is click the first link in the description and complete my 3-minute mortgage readiness quiz. Once you complete that quiz, I will personally sit down, record you a custom video within 24 hours, breaking down your real numbers, breaking down your lane, explaining exactly how a lender would view your file, and laying out a clear approval strategy based on your timeline and your goals. Because like I said, you need a customized path. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at It's Ushindi for more self-employed mortgage advice, or if you have any questions at all, or if you just want to say hi, a link for that will be in the description as well.